Call the meeting to order. The agenda, Oromocto Council and Committee meeting, Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, 5:30 p.m. The Oromocto Municipal Building. I'll call the meeting to order and call for a mover for approval of the agenda. Councillor Kirkbride, seconded by Deputy Mayor Mawhinney. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Now, we're gonna have to go into a closed session here, not closed, but another session for the public presentation of proposed bylaws 510-E and 510-F, a bylaw to amend the municipal plan for the town of Oromocto. I'll have to call for a mover. Councillor Carr, seconder. Councillor Daw, questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, Dallas from the Planning and Compliance Division, floor is yours.
Your worship, council, the Community Planning Act requires a public presentation of proposed amendments to municipal plan. So as per those requirements, a notice of public presentation was placed on our websites for proposed bylaws 510-E and 510-F. They were placed on the website on April 30th. It says May 30th in your books, but that was a typo. May 30th. Proposed bylaw 510-E is a bylaw to amend the municipal plan. These amendments change a property on the land use map, which is Schedule B. This particular one will change a property from park and open space to local commercial. And this is to provide for an automated car wash for property on that location. Proposed bylaw 510-F is another bylaw to amend the proposed future land use map. And that's for the redesignation of a property at 60 Broad Road from institutional to low density residential. This is to support the subdivision of the rectory of the church being subdivided off. Again, these are procedural requirements of the Community Planning Act. There will be a public hearing for both these bylaws and associated changes to the zoning bylaw on June 17th prior to CIC. The first reading of these bylaws was held on April 17th. Second and third readings are scheduled for June 19th. So prior to June 19th council meetings, draft reports will be prepared for council with staff's recommendations and PAC comments on the proposed bylaws. For now, today satisfies the requirement to have a public presentation of the bylaws, and if there's time for anyone to write in, if they have any, we've received no written comments to date, and the notices and the proposed amendments to the bylaw have been available at the town for anyone to come and view and comment on. So I'll entertain any questions that council may have, Your Worship.
Councillor Kirkbride.
Thank you, Worship. Just to refresh my memory, where was the old address for car wash?
So that was 6870 Miramichi Road. So there is a vacant triangular piece of ground between the traffic circle and the area. Alongside of Harold Peterson Middle School. That is that portion of that triangular piece. Yeah, as shown on the right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? I'm to ask for attendance, but there's no attendance from the public except for these fine gentlemen who don't live in our area, so.
Yeah.
I like that sound. So on that note, I guess we'll have an adjournment. I'll need a mover for an adjournment. Councilor Von Victor, seconder, Deputy Mayor Mawhinney. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. All right. We move down to 3B, the Oromocto River Watershed Update with my friend, Robin Hanson, and the newly appointed president, Jeff Carr, and his assistant and brother, Jack Carr. So the floor is yours, and your backup can help you if you need it.
Yeah. Your worship, councilors, the first thing I want to do is to say thank you for supporting the Oromocto watershed. And there are hidden costs with our organization with insurance for all of our adventure trails. and insurance coverage for our executive and our board of directors. And I can't tell you how important your funding has been. And it's been like 10 years at $5,000 a year. We could not function without you, and I want to thank you. I really do. We really appreciate it. So thank you for reading. Okay.
Well, usually we get back, you usually end up giving us something back for it anyway, so we're breaking even.
I think we have 2,200 square kilometers, and I think we've spent around $3 million so far, and we have made significant changes. I have a new role with the watershed. I'm now the past president and president emeritus of the Oromocto watershed. I will be an advisor to the new president and the board of directors, assign special projects to help advance the watershed. I would like to, at this time, introduce our new president, Jeff Kerr. Jeff has always been, just relax. Words to say about you guys. Jeff, I'm sorry. I'll leave her yet. Jeff has always been involved in our watershed, a great volunteer and fundraiser. Jeff has, as you know, been MLA, Minister of the Environment, Minister of Transportation. Jeff has been a leading force in acquiring funding for our many projects. Through Jeff's tireless efforts, he has made it possible to receive nearly $2 million in funding. Oh, you're my hero. Just amazing. Jeff's heart is in the right place. He loves nature and he wants to protect and to preserve it. He believes, like us, that there's a place for humans and nature to grow together. Jeff strongly believes. Visit our supernatural places and you will fall in love with them and you'll want to take and protect them. Jeff will take our watershed to new levels never before thought of. Welcome our new president, Jeff Kerr.
All right. If there's anything I can add. Next time I get a resume, Robin's gonna write it for me. Never mind this chat GPT stuff. But yeah, you all know me. I appreciate mayor, council and staff for having us in here today to do a brief presentation just to show some of the projects we have ahead. And also we do like to brag about some of the projects we've done. Most of you have probably visited some of the attractions, especially the Gateway Marsh project. It's wonderful. We appreciate your partnership on that, as well as the information center over by Tim Hortons. It's a wonderful addition to the town, and with our partnerships with federal and provincial government and Robin as well at that time. It's just a beautiful place, beautiful center. And I'm certain there's lots of visits there. I don't know the exact number, but the numbers must be static. They're parking lot full all the time. So with that being said, I have big shoes to fill, obviously, with Robin, and do my best, but he'll, fortunately for me, he'll be there to help me through it. And as you've seen in his description, he still will be tasks of projects, which he wants to do anyway. So I won't go on much longer because you know my background and you know my interests and what I believe in the wetlands and the watershed is a big deal for me, and protecting that and promoting it as we move forward in a responsible way but it's more fun than anything. It's not really a job or a position, it's just about the fun. So anytime you have suggestions on what we can do differently, if you hear from residents or constituents on what we need to do differently with our trails or our signage or any of that kind of input, please let us know, because we don't know unless we hear. And we'd be happy to address that. So let's start bidding at 10 grand next year. So we really appreciate the 5 every year. It makes a big difference, like Robin says, with costs and things the way they are now, insurance policies and whatnot. We couldn't do it without a partnership like that. So thank you very much, and I'll let Robin continue on with the agenda. Right, Robin?
Mr. President,
Yes. Okay, thank you.
thank you, Jeff, so much. I would like to ask Jack Carr to do a presentation. Jack is helping our watershed market, and he's one talented boy. And so if you could, Jack, show your talent.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Robin, and just been so thankful to have us here. I'm a director of the Oromocto River Watershed Association. It's quite something because my first career that I had, as many of you would know, some wouldn't, was as a reporter. 1995 until 2004, and I've covered a lot of council meetings back then. That was part of my role, was to go to council and report on them. So it's great to be back because I haven't been here very often since I stopped becoming a reporter. When I was an MLA, one of the first meetings I had was in 2008 when I got elected, was with Robin. He emailed me and called me and said, "Oh, you got to come in and meet." So he was the first meeting that I had as an elected official, and we had a fantastic meeting, and he told me all about the Oromocto River Watershed Association and all the water trails, waterfalls and trails. I had no idea, and it's right in our backyard. And that really helped change my life. And that was 17 years ago. Hard to believe. Where's the time go? And then Bob and I and a few of others, we back then we went on some of those tours that Robin organized, first time ever, and just blew us right away. And so it's so great to see the partnership develop with the town of Oromocto and the Oromocto River Watershed Association all these years and still continuing to go. Robin was telling me there's something like 48 or 50,000 people that stopped over at the Gateway Marsh and Information Center last year alone, I believe. So that's just been fabulous, outstanding, because you can get people off the highway and get them to stay, maybe extend their days, and it's excellent. So I have, because my background was broadcasting, I wanted to feature some of the waterfalls that I love so much, that you love so much, and have the whole world see them. So I've got 3 waterfalls that I've produced, videotaped, edited, and produced, and so I wanted to just feature one, and I've got a couple more already shot and in the can but not edited yet, so I can't wait to release those. But I just wanted to show one, and wanted to feature waterfalls, and I wanted to show the one that I've gotten finished, Raggedy Ass Falls, which is in Hoyt, and it's quite a popular waterfall, and we'll just play this right now for you.
Bear with me a second here.
Oh, okay, we'll bear with her right for a second, Jillian. And but this is Raggedy Ass Falls, and there's 4 waterfalls here, as you'll see. A nice waterfall, very nice rock ledge. You can sit here, have a picnic, or maybe you start to just enjoy it. You can start beginning with Raggedy Ass number 4.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Oh, no problem. Installments in New Brunswick in general. And today we're going to feature Raggedy Ass Falls. And this waterfall, there's actually 4 waterfalls at Raggedy Ass Falls. You have waterfall number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then there's another bridge at the end, and you come down, look around, and then there's a nice lookout right there. Right here. Now check this out. This is the lookout here. A nice waterfall with a nice rock ledge. You can sit here, have a picnic, and just enjoy Raggedy Ass number 4. It comes down here to 3, 2, and then 1. So this is fun. You can walk right out there and get some good views. Hard to get over there right now, but you could if you really wanted to. Robin Hanson is the owner of the Hanson Art Gallery and is president of the Oromocto River Watershed Association. He's well known throughout the region for dedicating years preserving the stunning natural beauty of New Brunswick, which he immortalizes in his artwork. Alongside other dedicated volunteers, Robin has worked tirelessly to make these scenic wonders more accessible to the public. Through partnerships with the government, volunteers, and local contractors, they have maintained trails and constructed lookouts and bridges around some of the region's most breathtaking waterfalls, including Raggedy Ass.
Look
Jack, this is one of the waterfalls you just got to visit. There are 4 waterfalls at Raggedy Ass. The outcropping of the rocks are all vertical. And if you climb around the rocks, you're going to get Raggedy Ass. There's beautiful swimming pools at the bottom of the fall. Raggedy Ass is the place to go. There's a lot.
Well, another family-friendly waterfall right the S Falls, and it's loops right around. So here's the other bridge, the top bridge. The Watershed Association, along with partnerships with the government as well, did an immaculate job. So this walking trail, they can loop right around. Well, right in the S Falls, and you can just sit here and just meditate and just take it all in. Number 4 right here, number 3, number 2 right there, number 1 further down, and it's just got a lot of character, a lot of features that are very unique. Well, that's the best thing about a waterfall. There's no 2 waterfalls that are the same. Yeah, so it's just, this is neat, you know, you bring your family, bring your kids, and it's an adventure. It's actually couldn't. You can have a different angle. Two, 3, and 4, right here in Wheaton, Brunswick. Managed by the Oromocto River Watershed Association. If you want more information on how to get here and to the others in the area, just Google Oromocto River Watershed Association, and also on Facebook as well. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and so that's just a bit of passion, waterfall, especially in the area that with broadcasting and to expose it to the world, and Oromocto, the town proper is a huge part of the Oromocto River Watershed Association, and as you know, tourism is one of our best natural resources that we have. Our natural beauty and the gateway comes to mind, the Gateway Marsh, the tourism center, and that's sort of what I envisioned, was having that tourism center and having these videos where people come. But also the Gateway Marshes, we know that people use that every single day, that's their daily routine, that's their life. For a lot of them, that's what they look forward to, is to get the recreation, and there's so much in that marsh that could be featured as well in the future for video, but just want to thank everyone for having the watershed here, and there's more of an agenda. And it's just been an honor to be involved in the watershed, now to see Jeff as president and Robin to stay involved. And like Robin said, we're going to continue to grow. I remember when I was in MLA, I thought $20,000 was a big deal if you got that for a little bit of a culvert and something else, but to get $2 million plus is a huge accomplishment, as you all know, to be able to try to access those funds and to have the town supportive and involved and as a partner with the Watershed Association means so much. And as you remember there, Bob, 17 years ago, and And starting out, it's one part at a time, and that's what each and every one of you do to attract residents within the town and also from outside to be able to come to this great town. So thanks for what you do and.
Jack, I got a couple questions. Jack,
Okay, yes, sir.
what time of year was that?
Oh, that was probably around July. I would
July?
say
Oh.
June, July, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so it's still flowing pretty good, yeah.
And
And my
you know,
next,
you gotta sort of time it. If you have a big rain, then you're gonna have a great flow.
and my next question, probably Robin, I don't know who would have the answer. Why is it called Raggedy Asphalt?
Oh, yes, well, Robin would have the answer to that, so we'll hand it over.
It's actually called Nutter Brook, but the rocks, they can be flat like this, but they're all in vertical. And so when they're vertical, the edges will make your ass raggedy. And so it was, yeah, and everybody just acknowledged that if you went there, yeah, you're going to have little tears in your, bottom or whatever. And so we've stuck with that. That's the name that the citizens use. And nobody uses Nutter Brook.
Yeah, that's more colorful.
Oh, yeah. So we have that video, I have South Branch Falls and another video as well. Oh, Clarendon Falls, that one was a great little side story. I can tell you later about that one, how that all came to be, but that was a wintertime scene. And then in the can shot already is Carroll Brook Falls, and that's just amazing. That's mossy. That's the thing about waterfalls, is that there's no two that are the same, but that is a mossy sort of cascade and things.
Where's that one located?
That's in White as well, Mill Settlement Road. And the other one I have, videotaped is Sandbrook Falls, yes, and that's out in Clarendon. And that's the beauty of all of them, is that they're, a short distance, short drive and a short walk into them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to other falls in the province, but that sometimes they're a 3-hour, 4-hour walk just to get to the waterfall. And these are just 30 seconds or 5-minute walk, free and great for families. And again, having the information center here as the hub is excellent, and then branch out to some of the other tourism.
And that's excellent with production too, but.
Oh, thanks. Matt Corvette did the drone work for me. Like, he's amazing because he, as you saw there, when he grew up and played video games and just loved it, and now he's transferred that into his passion and his career. And that's doing that drone work, and he's amazing at it. A lot of operators, they won't get that close to the trees or the waterfalls, but that gives him that rush. And he has great footage from that. And then I do the editing and the writing, so we make a great team.
We'll have to hire him instead of the ones we have to pay a big bucks.
Well, just give me a call and I'll help you.
Some bargaining system there.
Councilor Dunn?
Is the intent to have, you said you were having it on the screen at the information center?
Oh, yeah, and I don't know if it's
Will
possible.
there be a pamphlet so that when people come, they'll know where to go, how to get there?
I think that's a great idea, Lorraine. And
Because,
that's something that we can explore and do, and I think it's probably part of the vision, but you're right, because there's about 12 adventure trails all around. And if someone picks up that pamphlet, that's the key.
it's a lot easier than that heavy book.
Yes, and we're online as well, although the book is amazing.
I'm gonna get their bar, so people can do a bar.
The scans, yeah, right.
Yeah,
And if they have the pamphlet, there's ways of online, you'll have all the ordinance and the directions, but every marketing tool is helpful. But then, as you know, if someone's just veering off, pulling into town, they may not have an intention to stay 1 day or 2 days, but as you know, if you get them at the information center, they get that bug, they may change their whole plans and say, actually, we're gonna stay 3 days here in the town. Rather than, and they make that our home base for the next 3 days, rather than going on somewhere else where they may be intended, but that's a great idea.
and the number of visitors that are from out of the country, not only just outside of Oromocto,
Yeah,
that I noticed when I have been there and talked to the girls or the workers, that are girls, they just happen to be, is phenomenal, like the ones from Germany, that's what they were interested in, that sort of thing.
it's
Hiking and seeing things.
It's quite a thing. I think COVID really helped introduce more people to nature,
Yes.
to getting in the outdoors, the environment, and just really loving our environment and our natural beauty. And there's tons of it here in the town of Oromocto and surrounding areas, you all know, so.
It's like that German couple, me and Robin were at a function there and we were coming out and the German couple flew in from Germany. And they were gonna go touring around and they went there first and gee, they loved it and they couldn't believe it. And then they come back and, yeah, they plan on coming back again and bringing people back to
Yeah.
Germany. Cause they don't have that, like, they don't have falls and stuff in Germany.
But, no, it's great, your investment, the town's investments, it's a huge return on investment, in my opinion, the information center, what you contributed. A few years ago, and then the regular funding for the Oromocto River watershed. It's a great return on investment. One, you increase your stays by even 5%. Really will help the town and the tax base and help everybody.
For sure.
Great. So we'll hand it over to Rob now to continue on with the presentation. Thank you.
We recognize that, video are vital in marketing. And so, Jack, we're very, very pleased with your offer to do that. We're really gonna try to do all of our adventure trails, aren't we, Jack?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
And we've got, I think there's about 5,000 views on each of the three. So that's really without doing a whole lot of.
Thank you, Jack. Mission to Marsh, I'm really concerned about the time. I didn't know it was that long. Anyway, maybe we could just, Jillian, bring up on the screen Mission to Marsh. And,
The video?
yeah.
You're good.
And this is the trailer. Okay, if you could just pause it there for a second, I just want to speak to it if I could. Like your worship mentioned, there was a vehicle over at Gateway. And it said Mission to March, when we hunted people down. And they were from Germany. The scientist and the videographer. And their first place, and they're on a 1-year study for North and South America on wetlands and what everybody was doing. And the first place they chose in Canada, Gateway. Wow. And so they have produced a documentary and it's now being shown in Europe. And it will be coming to Canada next year. And maybe, Jillian, we can just start it and we may shut it off. It's 3 minutes.
In the future, wars are gonna be fought over water. Protecting your wetlands is really protecting your future. And can you imagine the future without water?
There's some people that will certainly still think, hey, I'm gonna come out to this marsh and I'm gonna get eaten alive by mosquitoes, right? And that's certainly not always the case.
When you want to relax, you can go to the wetland. When you need fish, you go to the wetland. Even the people, when they need to fix their houses, go to the wetland.
Their wetlands are of great benefit to the whole world environment. They store water like huge sponges and release it in the dry seasons.
That's extremely important because most of the water that we use, not only for human consumption, but also for electricity, for irrigation, for crops, all that water is water that is stored here.
People don't realize that, but it's time that they should open their eyes and see what wetlands can do for us.
Many people after the hurricanes learn that thanks to mangrove,
There's a lot of carbon dioxide stored in that peat, and once it's dry, and you have a lightning fire, it will burn up. And so all that carbon
I
dioxide.
just want you to see that you have made an international appearance.
Nice.
Yeah, so kudos to you, and the fact of, doing a wetland in a urban center is just incredible. And so I want to just jump through if I can, Rob, to talk to the town on maintenance of sculptures in a gateway wetland. My health is moving away a little bit. And I was wondering if there, maybe was somebody in the works department that might be interested, that I could just train them, this year on how to repair and fix. I'll just leave that with you if that's possibility. I'm gonna rush along here a little bit if I could. I wanted to, this evening, introduce, the Hanson Nature Preserve. And it will be a gift to the citizens of New Brunswick. And if, Jolene, you could bring that up on the screen, a PowerPoint, and we'll try to just get through it quick. Okay, so this will be a family affair. It'll be called the Hanson Nature Preserve. And it's this is actually the sign that will be at each end of the property. A fairly large sign. And everything will be free. It is over 400 acres. So it's about 10 times the size of Gateway. But it is not a gateway, it's out in the Au Naturel. So it's 17 minutes from Oromocto, 30 minutes from Fredericton. And it's about a kilometer and a half from my art gallery. And we'll just go to the next slide if we could. Oh, I have that, yeah, you told me what to do. And I forgot.
Okay, cause I can do it from here too.
Okay, I'll go with you, because you're, yeah, so we just go to the next one. This just, maybe I'll just come up a little bit here. This is the map of the area. And entrance signs. To walk around it is 6 kilometers. And we have the Oromocto River, Sun Pope Lake, a bird watching tower that I want to take and introduce you to this evening. We have trails already on, we call Janet's Island. There's 2 Eagle's Nest, old growth forest that I've never allowed it to cut. 2 brooks that 2 different features type, the other brook here. We'll just move on to the next one really quick if we can. And so at Sun Pope Corner, this is the Oromocto River, and we'll be placing on Sun Pope Road. This will be the tower, the model that I brought in. And next, Jim. This is how we cross the stream. Floating docks to get across. And next. And this is the bird watching tower. And we're targeting this. I wouldn't call it an attraction, but we're targeting it for families, as we've done in our watershed. Families are the anchor. And so duck hunting and trapping will all be moved out of this area. And it is made out of steel, a life expectancy of 40 years. It's all built to the building code, checker plate area. And so it'll be very exciting. It's already built. We're just waiting for environmental approvals. I want to dwell on this a little bit. If you could go to the next slide. Bird watching towers are around the world. And if you go on Google and just ask for bird watching towers around the world, it shows like 500 of them. And I just want to show you just a few of those. If you could just go to the next one. This one is in Germany. And look at the expense. They hired an architect. This looks like a bird. It's his beak and it's over a marsh. Next one. This one is in Norway and it's overlooking a marsh. Next. I'm just trying to rush it. This one here is kind of interesting. It's like a house on stilts. And next. This one is in Mexico. And next. Salt Lake, I guess. And next. look, there are so many. And I'd like to just talk a second about community involvement, just a second, and how your gateway has brought the community together. And so we would try to do the same thing, but we're out in the rural. Next. Bird watching as an industry, and this is where it hits home. Bird watching in North America is $107 billion industry. To give a comparison, hunting in North America is 45 billion. Bird watching is like 2.5 times. It's totally unbelievable. So we don't seem to recognize that in Canada. If you look for bird watching towers in Canada, you might find one. There's one in Toronto, and there's not very many. And so, and we'll go, what's the next that we have here? Letters of support. And the important one here is Tony and Dorothy Diamond. They're world-renowned avian research people from UNB, and we have the full support that we've got a nice letter from the city of Fredericton. If we can, maybe I'll go back here and just talk about the tower just a second. There is, we're breaking really new ground here with this in New Brunswick. And so, like your gateway, we expect that we will have, I think, eyes open to adventure and ecotourism. I just wanted to see the tower in itself is strategically located so you can look out over the marsh, the ponds and everything. But one of the very important parts of this birdwatching tower is the educational component, and just had to have that. So there will be 6 storyboards that will be self-guiding, showing have storyboards showing the birds of eastern Canada, the animals, and how to respect a wetland. A whole bunch of information there. And in the bigger picture, there's e-birding. And e-birding is very, very important. Over 2 billion citizen scientists or bird watchers are committed to recording bird sightings. And so we will be pushing that. And the reason that we're pushing that is that scientists are taking all that information, and it's a vital component of understanding our climate and climate changes. It's like the canary in the coal mine. And so that's an exciting journey, and we'll be introducing it and pushing that. And I think any questions on the tower? We're talking a little quick.
How are you gonna get it over there?
It's nearly 100-ton crane that will pick it up, and so capital crane will put over, okay? This tower, okay, there's no government money in that, and I'm not asking anything from the town here, but it's about 30,000 to build, and about 5,000 to put it in, and all that is donated by somebody. Yeah, just going back to your gateway a little bit on bird watching. It was quite a few years ago that I mentioned to your staff that maybe we should get Birds Canada to do an inventory basically of birds. And I can't remember whether I made the call or your staff made, but holy cow. 43 species of birds in their one-day count. And if you look for hot spots to go bird watching in New Brunswick, guess who's featured? You, Gateway. Anyway, I mean, we couldn't be any more pleased with that. Another attraction we'll try to start this year is the Dragon Boat Adventures, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. It'd be good fun. And now in closing, I want to talk a little, if I could, a little bit about history. We are 3 minutes here. On top of the bird tower, by the way, will be a guest book, bird watching log book to fill out, and a whole bunch of other stuff, so we can try to capture. I want to I love history and heritage. And quite a number of years ago, I went down to the museum in St. John. And they had a great big display there of shipbuilding in New Brunswick. And featured St. John, St. Martin's, Oromocto. And I'm going, Oromocto? And so I started to do a little more research on that. And wow, hey, there's a reason. So I'll just take a second. Maybe you might be able to use some of this information. I'll give it back to you. The town of Oromocto was a shipbuilding center in the age of sail. And there were 4 ships that were built, named the Oromocto, 3 of them here. How did Oromocto become a shipbuilding center in New Brunswick? Shipbuilding really got its boost in New Brunswick when Napoleon created an embargo to the Balkans. That was the only place you could get ship's masts. The Balkans were the supplier of ship's masts to the known world. England and France were at war. Napoleon was seen as a brilliant strategist in warfare. By cutting off the trading route to the Balkans, this would put England in dire straits to survive. As you know, England's an island, so ships and shipping were crucial to her survival. England was in a panic because the average lifespan of a sailing ship back then was 7 years. England turned to her colonies in Canada for help. Over 4,000 kilometers away. The Royal Navy sent crews of men to New Brunswick called the King's Arrows Men. They found the Oromocto River Basin loaded with groves of white pine. The King's Arrow Men were sent out to mark the white pine with a King's Arrow. Because of Napoleon, you know, history is interesting. The harvesting of ship's masts became a booming business. Jeremiah Tracy had, if you can imagine, 50 men working with him and harvesting masts. Location meant everything. Oromocto River being deep and could accommodate ships and trade. At first, the ship's masts were floated down the Oromocto River and loaded in the hulls of ships and then shipped off to St. John and then to England. And the attitude back then was ships must be built in England. Only in England can ships be properly built. Well, it didn't take long for entrepreneurs to realize that they could bring the shipwrights to Oromocto and the building of ships close to where all the raw materials were. This was very efficient. Ships could be built here in Oromocto at half the price as they could be built in England. 26 vessels or more were built in the town of Oromocto. George Morrow, a lumber baron of French Lake, built quite a few. And so, your worship, if you could just, we'll unveil. I want to give this gift to the town of Oromocto. And this is the sailing ship, the brigantine, the Oromocto. And this is and so that's a gift for you. And I wanted to give it to you. And not sell it to anybody. And so someone could have it like in their living room. I wanted it so that it would be around for years and years. So that's my gift to you, the town, and I thank you very much.
Wow.
And so that, we're done.
Well, we
On
gotta,
time, I think.
we gotta
trying
get
to be on
a, we
time.
gotta get a picture.
Oh, yeah, my God, yeah, we gotta get a picture.
Picture down.
I'm going to use your phone.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm.
You want me to take a picture for you?
We need to be watching.
And,
Oh, my God.
Jack and Jeff, I like you to be involved.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Okay, so this is, quite a moment, to have the new president.
We wanna.
And,
Yeah.
We might,
It'll stop the meeting. And, can I give this camera?
Absolutely, yeah.
okay. All right, we'll move down to administration. We'll start with 4A, the backyard chicken coops, verbal discussion. We'll start with the CEO. Oh, no, Dallas says this? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I don't have any gifts. Look, so this is really just a kind of a verbal discussion. Counselors, I think a couple counselors had been getting some communication from residents, throughout the years. Reaching out with questions about making provisions to allow for backyard chickens. When I say backyard chickens, just for everyone's benefit, it's essentially like a small scale accessory use of a residential property. It's not the idea that the property becomes like a big functioning farm, but that there was an idea that a small exception to allow some, chickens as kind of pets with terms and conditions in backyard locations in small residential properties. Oftentimes they were used to help teach children about where food comes from and sustainability and things of that nature. I know it's been brought up before, and there's been different discussions at council through the years. And in the past, I don't think there was much interest pursuing it in the town. Maybe because of the high turnover we have with our population, with residents who move in, that even though it was brought up through the different times, it's being brought up again. It might be that some new people that come in have brought it up again, but regardless, there have been some recent requests, and so it was asked to address it, and I will say that it's a very timely request. Because at this point, we're also looking at a review of our municipal plan and zoning bylaw. And it's in the zoning bylaw where provisions would need to be added to allow the keeping of backyard chickens in residential zones. The process already will involve reaching out to people all over town to hear what they want and what they envision in their neighborhoods, so that we can develop policy statements in the municipal plan that addresses it, and then zoning provisions in the zoning bylaw to achieve it. So we're already going to be going out over the course of the spring and summer to talk to people in those areas to look at what changes that we made to the zoning bylaw to address those, and things like backyard chickens would be one part of that. In addition, it's a bit more timely now to look at, because there are different areas of town, such as Ward 4, that are more rural residential. That it might be more appropriate, and maybe different areas that look at it. In the past, my experience with planning in the rural commissions, which is formerly Regional Service Commission 11, and then with the city of Fredericton, a lot of times how it happened was originally people made applications for small exceptions on their property. PAC or PRAC would then look at approving those individual ones based on a set of terms and conditions. And what was happening is over time, it was commonly the same terms and conditions always being applied. And when they are, it's usually not a lot of issues. The issues that you tend to see tend to be the people that are doing it, deciding it wasn't for us and now stopping, as opposed to it for presenting a lot of additional issues for other properties, especially if they were done in accordance with the terms and conditions. So what happened over time is in a lot of those areas, those things just became, well, if we never have any opposition and there's never any issue, why don't we just make these things part of the bylaw? So there's different times where that's happened, but a lot of times in those areas, they've had a small instance come in. And they've looked at it, they've tried it as an exception to the rule and then said it's gone well or it hasn't gone well and they've gone forward with it, or they haven't in those respective municipalities. I would say that we're gonna look at the zoning bylaw, we look at areas that, you know, is open for it overall, and look at other areas where we have it as maybe something that is on an application basis and see how it goes. In terms of the literature and looking around, obviously there are pros and cons to these, they're not, it's not rocket science, sometimes in some areas. It can be prone to attracting wildlife or other nuisances to the neighborhood, and it can be prone to diseases, bird flus, different things like that, that those animals are prone to getting. And quite often, the idea is that these are not supposed to be for sale, they're supposed to be for personal consumption, and sometimes they just produce more eggs than people consume. And then you have those issues, but generally, that's, the long and short of it. It's an easy, time for us to get this feedback and not necessarily, hunt it or anything like that, but it's just now is the time that we are looking at holistically all the changes to the zoning bylaw. So it's great that our residents, are reaching out. We'll be engaging them in the near future with lots of ways to hear from them on municipal plan, and we hope that we do in that process so that we can look at these and other changes to the zoning bylaws that people will consider. I've said a bunch of stuff to say that nothing's happening right now, but it's something that we're gonna look at going forward. But if there's any other questions around the table for council, I'm happy to entertain or discuss.
Questions and comments? Councilor Murdoch?
Yeah, I did get an email from somebody and my answer was I knew we had a bylaw against it here at Oromocto, but I didn't think Lincoln did. Because originally, before we adopted them, they actually were allowed to have chickens, so I just told them that.
No foul.
It's actually a weird roundabout circle.
So, yeah, so all I said was that I have to get back and vote Lincoln, because I wasn't sure of it, and I just knew that was. Huh?
So before backyard chickens became a thing,
Yeah,
there were probably chickens in the backyard before, but they weren't as much of a, you know,
pet,
or the people were doing. Then they looked at poultry and pig farming as two very smelly types of agriculture, which were threats to residential areas, which Lincoln was becoming a bedroom of Fredericton. So I'm looking back in the history of those planning documents,
they changed.
there was concern that agriculture would become a big factory farm, like your Metz farms and things like that back in the day. So a lot of the language talked about agriculture, but no poultry, no.
That all came under that,
No
as opposed to no chicken, not chicken.
So that was,
instead.
so that was saying we're not allowing agricultural uses of chicken. The idea of backyard chicken wasn't envisioned.
Wasn't a vision, yeah, that makes sense. Because of course, like I said, in Fredericton, that is something.
But it might change, it might
With
make
the
more
new
sense now to look at, and especially in the areas where if you've got an acre, you're less likely to, you know, have any issues on your neighbors because you have more area. The other side of that point is you're in areas where you can be more prone to attracting wildlife, other forms of wildlife with the chickens, and that's.
Councilor Von Richter?
Thank you, your worship. Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is we have to clean up the language because I can't have chickens, I can't have swine, but I can have a bison, I can have an emu. I can have. So, you know, when someone says, you can't have 6 chickens, but I can have an emu and a bison in my backyard.
Yeah.
If I call it a hobby
Clearly that
farm.
has to be.
So we'll have to either change it, clean it up, make it consistent, but I do think that. You know, with most of the land in Lincoln being divided 1 acre lots. There is, you know, less intrusion on your neighbors. You know, there would have to be some limits, I think. I think Fragnet's 12 chickens and Hamwell it's 10 or something. I mean, Hamwell can't be seen from the road. I mean, there's different communities done different ways, but I think we have to. Probably say we have to allow chickens as well. First of all, I know for a fact there are several chicken coops in Lincoln. Because I've had people call me and I said, you know, babe, this call didn't take place, but you're technically breaking the law right now.
Yeah.
Cause you have the permission for your chicken coop.
I mean, I don't wanna, you know, foreshadow too far, but depending on how people wanted to go and with it, like, you know, would definitely be something that could easily foresee where you test the waters, basically, if it's okay in the Lincoln area, then you proceed in that area and you look and see, okay, what have we noticed the impacts and trends over time? And then maybe in a 4 or 5 years time, we see, okay, maybe we roll it out further, or we'll not, we'll have to see what people think when we go out there.
Cause I do know from a personal, I've never had chickens with my son and his wife had chickens in animals. You do need to have 8 or 10 to make it livable with, so they can survive the winter. There are reasons for the numbers, I have no idea what they are.
I like
Just no
that.
roosters.
Yeah, I like the opportunity to take time to, like you said about the bylaw change and to talk to people about this. I do like whether or not it's something that you're right, we do have a sort of a standing good time frame to actually get a feel for what people think. I think, did we not put this, or how did we said no to it? Was it not plus something? We put it out.
We said it
no
before,
first
yeah.
time.
Yeah, and your worship, I know one of the reasons it's here is because of me. You
I knew it
know,
was your fault.
in my direction in terms of, I know since I've been here, it's been brought forward twice, and in both cases, it was very adamantly objected to, and for good reasons, you know, and so, but as planning goes, reasons start to change and we learn new things and people try them, and hence Fredericton has had a program that seems to be somewhat successful, since that time. You know, the writing of the Lincoln Plan was, I believe, 1996. I was there, and so to councilors' points, there's language in that for things that were happening at that time that aren't a concern now that were back then, but also reflects why we're tasked to review municipal plans every 5 years, because if you wait 35 years, language really does get out of date. So one of the reasons to bring it here tonight too was just to at least test the water for the group here, because ultimately, no matter what the public says, you folks are the gatekeepers of what eventually gets approved or not approved in the municipal plan or zoning law. So that being said, we're certainly willing to go out and do the work and get some you know, feedback back, but it was just to test the water too, because if there was a vile opposition to it, then there's no point in us going out and engaging the public and making them think it's going to happen if at the end you're just going to say no. So that's why we wanted to have a discussion for direction purposes. Dallas and his group's ready to tackle the public and at least beg the question, and we're certainly happy to do that. But we're also cognizant that we don't want to open up a Pandora's box if that's not what you want us to do.
Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Your Worship. Jeff and I know, got those emails, which is why I flipped it over to John and Dallas. Part of me, I know how personally I feel about the town and many things that we've done, and I drive around and see those little covered shelters all messed up right now, and it's after the end of April and they're still up. And that was my pet peeve back then with that. My pet peeve with the chickens personally is it has potential to do that, put extra work on our staff that is already doing. They're extended already with all the projects we have. But saying that, we are elected in by our residents. They have expressed this issue. So I'd at least like to see a feeler go out there to see what the basis is from our residents. It may be that there's no uptake, only a handful, and that's fine. At least we put it out there. And like CEO says, when it comes back to the table, when we have that additional information, then we can make that decision.
And is council okay if that outreach process is in kind of in part of the larger overall review of the zoning bylaw as opposed to a specific program for this?
However best you think it needs to be put out there.
Councilor Kirkbride?
I would be also, I think your worship, I'd also be interested in seeing perhaps the actual, I'll say numbers or statistics or rules and regulations, maybe of other communities are size, such as, is there certain lot sizes where it's allowed? Does it have to be seen from the road? I think lot size is big, it's a concern of mine, because I know. In on Ward 1, the lots aren't very big, and. Like, it's even with dogs, like dogs next door, you can hear them running around, let alone chickens, and I would like to see, I guess. Information from other communities, what are they doing? And, or if they don't, maybe there's a couple communities that we can find out, they said no, and why did they say no? And why did the other communities say yes? Is it because of lot sizes, or is it because of more rural areas in their communities, or what have you? So I would be interested in hearing that instead of, even I would be interested in hearing that before I even went to the public in my area, my region. Just, I'd like to know that.
Maybe have that information, so when they're talking.
Yeah, so, if that's possible.
Yes, it is.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I'm comfortable with most of the discussion that's going on. What Councilor Dodd proposed, I don't have any issue with that. I do like some of the framing of the conversation that you had about testing it in an area that would make a little bit more sense because of lot size. But I am very interested in what Councilor Kirkbride said as well, in terms of what do neighboring communities, communities similar to our size, like Sussex, Woodstock, areas that would be a little bit more similar-ish than Fredericton. I am also curious to know that in areas, if communities like this have adopted the allowance for this, if they also have programs involved where they also help out with pest management, if that becomes an issue. I'm currently dealing with an issue right now with a resident with raccoons. So, and we currently have a program by which we would help them in that regard. So I would worry a little bit about putting in or allowing this and then attracting more pests and then saying, I'm sorry, it's your problem. So I guess that would be part of the analysis that I would be looking for in considering all of the pros and the cons after the public consultation process goes through. I don't have any concern though with investigation. That's the whole point of being able to do investigation, consultation, and then at the end of the day, make a decision. So anyway, that's for me, just a few thoughts I have.
No.
Thank you, Worship. Say this nicely. For me personally, it's what do we want our town of Oromocto to be or to look like? And do we want it to be what it is now? Or do we want it to be something different? And where I know what chickens smell like, I have brothers that have chickens and everything else. Mind you, we're going to have a limit, but you're still gonna have a smell. When you think of Oromocto West and those lots that are close to one another. So I think we really have to think about what we want the town to look like. Yes, the citizens have a right to probably express their wishes to have chickens to offset the dozen eggs or whatever they're going to get because everything is expensive. I can understand the reasoning for that, but at the same time, they've got to feed those chickens and they're not cheap to feed the chickens to get the dozen or 2 dozen eggs. So I guess for me, it would be what do we want the town to look like in the end? It doesn't necessarily have to have chickens if that's not the direction we want to go in. Or if we do, then that's fine, I'll support.
The thing from my perspective with these is when we're going and embarking upon the process, we're going to be going to people and saying, tell us everything you want. I want to be open to what they may say. So as opposed to going and making a decision on this item that we put it to bed for now and then coming back out and then saying, what would you like to see for changes? You know what I mean? That it kind of was like, well, I just told you, you know?
Yeah.
So there's no saying that we're gonna do anything on either one of these things, what the decision is going to be, but we're gonna be looking at all elements of this. Including this and other things, and it will all be about what we wanna have in this community going forward. And it will all be about what the potential issues might be, how we might mitigate them, if we can't mitigate them, then we don't have.
Okay, thank you.
That's a really good point of view too, about the perception of what we're looking at, big picture. I mean, I wasn't opposed to it last time it came up, but just because it was around the corner, like as John said, it is a thing now. And I've had several clients that come and that was the came and went and did that. Although I think, you know, depending on what, obviously the people want and what we decide, I mean, we have a lot of situations where Ward 4 has a different group of bylaws that could be different, and I think obviously their availability to have chickens is gonna be a little bit different to offset some of the concerns like land and smell and stuff. So we are, not that I mean, we're gonna always have some different things for Ward 3 than Ward 1, 2, and 3 because of the layout of the land. But we have to, consider that it's something we don't decide to do in Oromocto proper, for lack of a better word. I think we have to be open to the opportunity that Lincoln put by something a little bit different. And, but I do love the idea that you're going out there instead of saying, these are the things we want you to say yes or no to, instead say, what do you want? And pull it back. I mean, I think it's a great way to let people think that, well, know that their opinion could count and it might be, and of course, we might learn something we never did. So I appreciate you guys going out and doing that. It's gonna be great.
Councilor Carr?
So if I'm understanding correctly, I'm either decided or undecided on this and willing to listen, but so wards could have different designations or even areas within wards, different stipulations in front of the bylaws.
Sure, so wards are, they're how politically the areas are divided up.
Yeah.
Oftentimes though, like, how plans tend to work is you may have certain policy statements and either designated areas on a land use map.
Right, yeah.
Or zones, and then policies that relate to these different things. So, you can have, areas of, that are considered stable neighborhoods or new neighborhoods or new changing areas, like when you identify these areas that you identified, rural residential, PMQ, these types of communities of interest, we can have different policies and different things that relate to how those go. It's really up to us inside the bounds of that document and deciding what's the right thing for a rich area. It's easier sometimes if things are more uniform, but it doesn't always have to be necessarily the same.
Councilor Kirkbride?
Thank you, Richard. Actually, that was a question that crossed my mind. The PMQs is a little bit, I mean, they're owned by they're not owned by their actual resident.
I think
So,
that would not be have a choice.
We're not giving it to you.
Yeah,
But
And recognize that, yeah.
but there's an example of how our wards can be different.
Yeah, what happens there can't
I
happen.
can't imagine
The roadhouses getting chickens everywhere.
Can you, I just picture that.
So when someone
No.
posted and they leave the coop.
Well, blue, no, because I think that's definitely a different concept here.
Councilor Whalen?
So are you gonna survey people and get numbers on how many people want it?
Well,
Chickens, 'cause-
We don't have any plans to do a complete referendum just on bylaw chickens. You know what I mean? But overall, we're gonna be talking about, like, we have survey done up that's gonna be launched in the next few days that talks just about what are the other types of uses that you think are good in your neighborhood. That type of engagement, when we get into the finer details about, okay, here's kind of, here's what we're seeing for changes in residential zones. This kind of thing would be like an accessory use in a residential zone, right? So when that's being all laid out, it will be going to place people and saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Getting a feel for people. If we find there's areas where there's openness to want to see some of that, then that's where we say, okay, based on that kind of a feedback process over a certain period of time, we just try and prepare something that responds the best we can to the feedback. And we feel that we got it right, then it's like, okay, we got something we're gonna take to the public and bring to council to say, here's municipal plan, which will set up the target policy ideas, it'll say, here's the goals. And the zoning bylaw is, it's the rules, it's what people live with most, but the direction for it should be set in the plan, and then it's a matter of just, okay, we know what we want to do, these are the rules that are gonna accomplish it. But as far as you know, yes, no poll in terms of we need 60% in this area to go yay chickens or no chickens, that's not how I see it really. No.
Because if we have rules on who can have chickens based on like, I don't know, land mass or whatever it is, like that's lot. And then I just don't see many people in Oromocto getting chickens if they can't meet those rules anyway. So I don't think it's gonna change Oromocto that much, and a few people that are allowed to have chickens.
If that's from the rules you have to follow, yeah.
If we did say yes, I really don't see it changing the town in a good way.
Lincoln's not awash in chicken coops,
No.
but there might be 10, 20, I don't know.
Right.
And
There's
often
not
people
one.
experiment with it and realize pretty quickly it's not.
Yeah,
fair.
that's very true. People want it and then they do it, yeah. It's a totally because fast.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, but I think the overall point that was made earlier is that having a small chicken coop on an acre lot is different than having a small chicken coop on a small residential lot like I would have, or most of the people have that are around the table. Because I think it is a vastly different thing, and I'm interested in the landscape across the province for, you know, what that looks like.
And there has been enough of those and the little smaller ones in the urban environment that this has become a thing, where this is some of the bylaws accommodate. So those are the areas that we look to say, look, how does this area do it? What do you do? What do you find that we'll look at, that we to consider if we do look at it?
Yeah, and I'm in favor of the chickens, because like Council Wayland said, it's very rare that people are gonna have them. But I think what they have to do is they just can't move in and say, I'm putting a chicken there. They'll have to go to compliance and they'll have to go out and look at it like the fire department do with their fire pits and say, okay, it's suitable. Because if it's a residential area or subdivision and where you're gonna put your chickens, you're gonna put it back into your yard, right? Well, you're gonna put it up to the other person's yard, and guess what? They're gonna get the smell and the.
Most places I would say have done what I call dip your toe, which is they start off with it saying, this is going to be something that you're able to do, subject to terms and conditions. It'll end up going to PAC. And then PAC, after a couple of years, you tended, what oftentimes in places is they develop a bit of comfort because they tend to see it. And so it becomes a bit more routine. I would, regardless, you know, I'm never opposed to a cautious approach for that type of stuff, but I don't want to foreshadow what that engagement process might be, but definitely open to any and all.
It's interesting.
Councilwoman
Your
Richter?
worship, thank you. Yeah, when I first came on council, I was a young councilor. years ago. When I can't say young, when I was a rookie.
Yeah, when you're a rookie.
Which I still am. I did go through the rural plan. And my memory serves me right, there are three things that were out of step with Oromocto. Chicken coops, fire pits, and home business rules are different in the rural plan, so. I'm not really concerned about fire pits or chicken coops that much, but home business rules can have an impact on people's retirement. So we'll have to make sure that we look at, I assume we're gonna look at everything.
Yeah.
Holistically, because I don't know enough about Oromocto's bylaws, but I know a little more about the rural plan is, because I read it a couple times.
You can have a 1 square foot commercial size sign.
Well, it's more about the home businesses.
Yeah.
Some of the things that are existing can't be in Oromocto.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now we're Oromocto.
Yeah, you wanna make sure.
Make sure
good
that,
point.
make sure those folks have I mean, I don't care what the future rules are, but those folks have to have an exit plan. Right?
Aerial pools and spa, we started as a whole thing.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, it did.
That's right, he wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay, so that's food for thought, council.
Be interested to see what you come up with.
Right, no further questions?
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. You have any comments, Ian?
No,
No. Okay, so I'll have a mover for adjournment. Deputy Mayor Mooney, seconder, Council Carl. Questions? All in favor? Contrary, motion carried.
It is, there is.
When you're doing your thing, John. Sorry.
We should go back right there.